Hi, I'm Joe Ward of Boxer Shorts Media, and today's Feet Meet Fire, we're going to talk about the importance of transparency from our elected officials with an example from Mayor McDougall. And yes, it's all related to the controversial tax cap, so hang in there with me for a few moments. Do you know what the old school politicians love to do around here? They love to talk in person with voters, but I don't think it's just because they want that one-on-one interaction, which is incredibly inefficient, by the way. I think it's because what's said at the kitchen table isn't disclosed. You can feel out the expectations of the person you're with and then assure them that you have their back without getting caught up in anything that other folks might object to. Back when Mayor McDougall was running for council in her first win for District 8, the incumbent councillor actually tried to avoid a debate with her, trying to sell the idea that he was more interested in talking with people at their doors. It didn't completely implode his campaign at that time, but it closed the margins McDougall needed to win. The challengers are always bolder. It's not their election to lose. And when they finally met in a CBC radio interview, the worst case scenario happened for him as he made the fundamental mistake of trying to dismiss her accomplishments. Today, we call her Mayor McDougall, so I think you have a sense of how the rest of that story played out. But McDougall is our mayor now, not the challenger. She dominated a career politician in Clark after 4 years of butting heads and had an historical win. But if you're a supporter, please do your best to hold her feet to the fire when she makes mistakes. Don't let her fade away from inspirational to more of that old school model of politician that has failed us. Today I'm going to showcase an incident where McDougall avoided a big opportunity for transparency. At the 2022-2023 budget consultations in Glace Bay, a young father approached the microphone to raise a number of concerns, not the least of which were the excessive taxes he has to pay on his home and his awareness that the tax cap was distorting what he had to pay versus his neighbors. In the mayor's response, she conveyed information about the plan to remove the cap in 7 to 10 years, describing it as something the CBRM staff have researched and the NSFM, or the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities, has advocated for. Her assertion was that it's up to the province. I think the entire point of leadership is about influence, but I'll let her sidestepping of responsibility go just for now. The problem here was that the mayor didn't bother to tell the young man that she's the president of the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities. Can you imagine her being the president of the NSFM and not endorsing their 10-year plan to remove the cap?
And so I think there is an education component, but there has to be an advocacy component as well. There is an organization, the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities, that have been advocating for this for years and years. Again, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's the provincial government that had to put the legislation in and let us do this.
If the mayor was reluctant to dismiss her role as the president of the NSFM while at an event appearing as the CBRM mayor, I think that's a clear indication that she's having trouble differentiating the roles and the conflicts that remain between them. In my view, she simply cannot talk about the NSFM as a third-party organization without acknowledging her role there, when a CBRM constituent is pouring out his heart about the challenges to his community and his family. I've said many times that the mayor is in a conflict of interest position with these roles, and she should depart from her position with the NSFM. However, I'm going to challenge the mayor and the CBRM to get consistent, and I have two calls for action. Number one, if removing the cap is the plan of the mayor and the CBRM, then bring it to council, vote for it with an official endorsement of the NSFM's plan for a 10-year removal, and then advocate for it to the province. I actually don't think the 10-year plan helps us much at all. It's the equivalent of the tax cut for Walmart policy decision, as it helps the HRM more than it helps us. But my point is, if that's what they want to do, get it on the record at council. Vote for it. And more importantly, just as Bruckschwager led council to overrule the mayor's initial opposition to our tax cut, let's find out if the council actually supports the cap removal plan that the mayor represents for the NSFM or not. I know the citizens of the CBRM have mixed views on it, but are we going to let our local leaders take a position on it, but just avoid telling us what it is? If you want it, prove it with emotion. Here's a tip. What you should really be doing is looking at alternatives that work best from the CBRM perspective, not the rest of a province whose situation and needs are often very different from ours. And number two, once you pass the motion to support some form of policy decision on what to do with the tax cap, update the CBRM strategic vision and make sure the community knows loud and clear what it is you have in mind for them. Let's have some transparency. We elected Mayor McDougall because we were sick and tired of that old school political approach. So let's put the brakes on the regression right now. And by the way, CBRM councillors, if you agree with me that the mayor's role with the NSFM puts her in conflict, please ask her to step down. Step away from any council session that deals with a topic related to the tax cap or the property tax challenges. Have the deputy mayor step in to chair the discussion and have the mayor acknowledge her conflict. That's all for now. For future segments of Feet Meet Fire and all episodes of Boxer Shorts Media, please subscribe at your choice of Facebook or YouTube, whichever works best for you.